Deep within a dark forest, close to a quiet little town, there was an abandoned fairground. Long ago, when its lights danced brightly and cheerful music echoed through the air, people said an evil shadow had hidden among the attractions. I am the one who carries that story, the story of the witch of the fair. The first time I saw her is etched into my memory. It was a cloudy, cold night, the kind where the air feels alive with something you can't explain. The flickering bulbs of the fair struggled to push back the heavy darkness, and the music that should have been joyous only filled me with dread. I wandered alone through the deserted paths until I saw her. She was bent and twisted, draped in a black robe that dragged across the ground. Her hair was darker than the night itself, framing a pale, wrinkled face with eyes so sharp and bright they seemed to pierce my very soul. Her laugh cracked through the air, sharp and chilling. "What are you doing here, little one?" she asked, her voice a strange blend of whisper and creak. I wanted to run, but my legs were like stone. "I was just snooping," I stammered. She laughed again, louder this time, a sound that echoed inside my head. No, I was only walking," I blurted, my fear making the words stumble. A cold wind swept through, and the lights flickered violently. I squeezed my eyes shut, and when I opened them, she was gone. My heart raced as I fled, running all the way back to town. People said that anyone caught by her gaze vanished, stolen away to a fate from which no one ever returned. Years passed, yet my curiosity only grew. Though I kept my distance from the fair, I could never silence the thought that something was left unanswered. One rainy afternoon, sitting in my grandmother's kitchen, I finally learned the deeper truth. She was stirring her tea when she noticed me staring off, lost in thought. I told her about the abandoned fair, about the witch said to haunt its shadows. Her spoon stilled. With a heavy sigh and a sadness in her eyes, she began to speak. When she was a child, she said, the fair had been filled with laughter and joy, but then came a time when children began to vanish. Parents wept and searched desperately, yet no answers were found. Fear spread, and whispers began. A witch had taken up residence in the fair, stealing children away. Soon no one dared bring their families there anymore. The rides stilled, the music stopped, and the place was swallowed by silence and neglect. Search parties came and went, but no trace of the missing was ever found. With time, the town let the memories fade, though the legend never died. My grandmother looked at me with solemn eyes. No one ever discovered the children's fate. Some believed the witch dragged them into another world, while others swore they were lost forever in the fair's shadows.
Her words chilled me more than the night I had seen the witch. The fear in me grew heavier, but so did a gnawing determination. I felt I needed to know the truth. One moonlit night, with the wind hissing through the trees, I returned to the fair. Its ghostly lights flickered weakly. Every broken ride seemed to watch me, and I felt the witch's unseen eyes follow my every step. My chest tightened as I reached a tattered tent that seemed to radiate darkness. Taking a deep breath, I stepped inside. Shadows pressed in on me. Worn dolls and broken trinkets littered the floor, the wood creaking under my feet. A sudden cold gust brushed past, and the same terrible laugh returned, whispering my name. Gustavo. I froze. She emerged from the shadows, her black robe swirling, her crooked smile cutting through the dark. Her gaze pinned me in place. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice calm but edged with power. I swallowed my fear. "I want to know what happened to the children." The witch's smile faded. She spoke slowly, saying they had been taken to a place beyond this world, where time twisted strangely and desires warped into terrible shapes. They were still alive, she said, but not in the way I could understand. Their souls were trapped in a space between what is and what might have been. I asked if I could help them. Her eyes burned into mine as she told me it was possible, but dangerous. The balance between worlds was fragile, and the price of meddling could be unpredictable. Then, fading back into the shadows, she left me with a warning. Mysteries rarely reveal themselves fully, and the path I had chosen would demand everything. Her words echoed after she vanished, leaving me with only questions. Yet I knew I couldn't turn back. I searched every corner of the fair, following broken hints and forgotten whispers, until one night I stumbled upon something buried beneath the stage of an old ride. There, beneath rotting wood, were small graves marked with names and dates. My heart broke as I read them, the names of the missing children. They had been here all along, buried under the place that once rang with their laughter. Anger and sorrow overwhelmed me. As I knelt in silence, paying respect to their lost spirits, a cold wind brushed my skin once more. The witch's laughter returned, twisting through the air. The truth had been darker than I imagined, yet I knew my journey had only begun. Years later, I visited my husband's hometown in Chiapas, a place called Pijijiapan. Soldiers were everywhere during the day, but at night the streets emptied. People whispered of witches and nahuales, shapeshifters that preyed upon livestock, draining their blood. I had just given birth to my first child, and when we arrived, my mother-in-law placed garlic, salt, and scissors beneath the baby's pillow. She explained that witches hunted unbaptized infants, drinking their blood to grow stronger. She even prepared a jar with salt, a red ribbon, and a prayer. If a witch walked across the roof, she would cast the spell to trap her, forcing her to reveal where she had hidden her severed feet. For, according to legend, witches removed their feet before flying. Without them, they would wander the night until they wasted away. The first night passed uneventfully, but the next, I heard my mother-in-law fighting with something in the dark. The next morning, she bore bruises and scratches, claiming she had battled a witch that circled the houses. Fear gripped me then. She insisted we baptize the baby quickly, but I refused, saying I would let my child choose that later in life. Annoyed, she told me a story as we made tortillas. She spoke of soldiers stationed in town, men who often sought the company of women. Among them was one young man, handsome but unbaptized. That made him irresistible to the witches. One day, he met a beautiful girl who passed by during his guard shifts. She greeted him shyly, and soon they began to talk. Days later, she vanished, only to return with an excuse. Her father had been gravely ill. The boy, enchanted by her beauty, fell deeply in love. Eventually, he proposed marriage. She seemed delighted, but claimed her parents disapproved. Soon she arrived at his quarters with a box of clothes, weeping, saying they could never marry but must live together instead. He agreed, moved by her sorrow. She gave him a woven bracelet, placing it on his wrist as a symbol of their eternal love. But soon after, his health began to fail. His body weakened, his face grew pale, and he vomited a foul black substance. Doctors found nothing wrong, but his friends noticed the change. His strength withered, and whispers spread that the woman he loved was not human at all, but a witch slowly consuming him. The young soldier's health worsened with every passing day. His friends grew anxious, watching him stumble through his duties with a pale face and hollow eyes. What frightened them most was the strange black liquid he sometimes vomited, thick and foul, like something rotten dragged out from deep inside. The military doctor ran test after test, but nothing ever appeared wrong. On paper, the boy was perfectly healthy. In reality, he was wasting away. At night, his companions sometimes heard whispers from his small house, voices that didn't belong to him. When they asked, he said it was nothing, only dreams. Yet the fear in his eyes betrayed him. The woman he lived with never seemed to sleep. Often she sat in silence, weaving bracelets under the candlelight, her dark eyes glimmering strangely in the dim room. His closest friend urged him to leave her, to return to the barracks for a time and regain his strength. But the soldier refused. He loved her, he said, and she was all he had. His friend could only watch as the woman's beauty tightened its hold on him while his life drained away day by day. One evening, when the moon hung heavy and red in the sky, his friend decided to follow him home in secret. Through the cracks of the wooden door, he saw something that made his blood run cold. The beautiful woman had removed her clothing and was crouched over the soldier as he slept. Her body twisted unnaturally, her long hair falling like a curtain around him. He saw her lips press against his chest, and then, as if sucking through the skin itself, she drew something unseen from him. The soldier groaned in his sleep, his body shuddering. Terrified, he stumbled back, but he knew he had to act. The next day, he went to the elders of the town and told them what he had seen. They listened grimly, for they had heard stories like this before. They warned him that the woman was no ordinary lover, but a witch who fed on his life force. The townspeople prepared a plan. That night, when the woman left the house, they searched inside and found a small hidden stove beneath a pile of coal. Within it, wrapped in cloth, were a pair of severed feet. The old women of the village nodded knowingly. It was true then. She was one of those witches who removed their feet to fly at night. Without them, they would be trapped. They took the feet and hid them where she could never find them. Then they circled the house with salt and garlic, whispering prayers under their breath. When the witch returned, she found herself unable to cross the threshold. She screamed and clawed at the air, her beauty melting away into something monstrous. Skin sagging, eyes glowing with hate, her voice twisting into a shriek that curdled the blood of everyone present. She begged to be let inside, swearing love for the soldier, but they held their ground. The soldier, weak and trembling, finally saw her for what she was. With tears in his eyes, he tore the bracelet from his wrist and threw it to the ground. The woven threads turned black instantly, crumbling into dust. The witch let out one final cry before vanishing into the night, powerless without her hidden feet. The boy collapsed, unconscious. For days he lay between life and death, until slowly his strength began to return. He was never quite the same. His body carried the scars of her feeding, and his soul seemed older, heavier, as if he had seen something no man should. The town never spoke her name again, but the story lingered like a warning. In Pijipiapan, they whispered to children and soldiers alike, "Never trust the beauty of a stranger at night, for she may be one of them, waiting to drain you until nothing remains."